My wife sent me a text that read, "I want a divorce. From now on, all communication will go through my lawyer." 3 days ago, my phone buzzed in the middle of a work afternoon, and the message from my wife popped up, "I want a divorce. Please direct all future communication through my attorney." That was it. No greeting, no warning, just a cold line that hit like a brick to the chest. I replied with just one word, "Understood." Then I went straight to work cutting off her access to every financial stream she had from me. I didn't argue, didn't plead, didn't even ask why. I simply typed "understood" and hit send. Then something in me shifted from hurt to business mode. If she wanted to make this cold and formal, I could do cold and formal. Within the hour, I had started shutting down every single financial tie she had to me. 72 hours later, her lawyer was blowing up my phone. Fast forward 3 days and suddenly her attorney is calling me nonstop, sounding more desperate than professional. I'm 42, still trying to wrap my head around it, but for now, I'm running on autopilot. For context, I'm a 42-year-old guy, and honestly, my brain hasn't even fully processed all of this yet. Right now, I'm just moving through the motions like I'm running on muscle memory. That Tuesday afternoon, I was buried in spreadsheets when my phone buzzed. It was Olivia, my wife of 15 years, sending that brutal text. That Tuesday, I was completely absorbed in my work, eyes locked on spreadsheets, when the notification lit up my screen. Olivia, my wife of a decade and a half, had sent me a message so blunt it barely felt real. It read, "Ethan, I want a divorce. Please direct all future communication through my lawyer, Mr. Peterson. His contact details will follow." Word for word, it was, "Ethan, I want a divorce. All communication should go through my lawyer, Mr. Peterson. I'll send you his contact info shortly." 15 years of marriage over in a text. And I hadn't seen it coming. Just like that, 15 years of my life, gone in a handful of cold sentences. And the worst part? There had been no signs. No warning shots. Nothing. We'd literally had dinner the night before, even talked about weekend plans. Everything had seemed normal. The night before, we sat down to dinner together, chatting about our weekend plans like it was any other week. Nothing about her demeanor suggested that the next day she'd be nuking our marriage via text. I stared at that message for a good 5 minutes. When I read it, I just sat there, frozen, staring at my phone. 5 full minutes, maybe more. Shock, hurt, anger, they all hit me at once. But weirdly, I also felt this icy kind of clarity. It was like every emotion decided to pile on at once: shock, confusion, hurt, anger, but above it all, there was this strange, almost mechanical clarity in my head. She wanted everything to go through lawyers? Fine. That meant the unwritten rules of marriage were out the window. Her demand for lawyers only told me all I needed to know. Whatever informal, trust-based understandings we'd had as a married couple were officially dead. We'd always kept separate bank accounts for day-to-day spending, but she had supplementary credit cards on my accounts. Sure, we'd each had our own personal accounts for regular expenses, but she also had extra cards tied to my accounts, authorized user status, not joint ownership. I logged into my banking app, canceled those cards instantly, and removed her as an authorized user. I pulled up my bank app, clicked a few buttons, and just like that, those cards were dead. Her name removed, her access gone. She also got a monthly transfer from me for her own spending money. I killed that too. Every month, I sent her a set amount into her personal account, fun money, basically. That transfer? Cancelled on the spot. Our streaming accounts, Netflix, Prime, were under my name. Logged every device out and changed the passwords. The same treatment went for Netflix, Prime, all the shared subscriptions. Logged out every device except mine, reset passwords, and moved on. The car she drove was leased in my name, on my insurance. I left that alone for now, but made a note to handle it through my lawyer. The car situation was trickier. She drove a vehicle leased in my name and covered by my insurance policy. I didn't shut that down immediately, too much liability risk, but I made a mental note to bring it up with my lawyer ASAP. The gas card? That was tied to one of the cancelled credit cards, so that problem solved itself. As for the gas card, that was already tied to one of the credit cards I'd cancelled, so it automatically became useless. The whole process took about 30 minutes. It wasn't revenge, it was just adapting to the reality she created. All in all, it took me half an hour to dismantle the financial safety net she'd had with me. This wasn't about payback, it was about adjusting instantly to the terms she set. Her lawyer's contact info landed in my email an hour later. I forwarded it to Ms. Cole, a top divorce attorney recommended by a coworker. About an hour later, her promised email arrived, Mr. Peterson's details. I forwarded them to Ms. Cole, a divorce lawyer a colleague swore by. I emailed Ms. Cole immediately, asking for a consultation and advice on protecting my assets. I fired off an email asking for an urgent meeting, explaining the situation and making it clear I needed immediate guidance on asset protection. Then I went back to work, finished my project, and went home. The house was empty, she'd already packed and left. With that done, I wrapped up my work for the day, went home, and found the place silent. She'd already packed some things and vanished. I actually slept okay that night. Strangely enough, I didn't toss and turn, I slept fine, almost like my brain was in survival mode. 3 days later, Friday afternoon, an unknown number called. I had a feeling it was her lawyer. Fast forward to Friday, 3 days since the text, and my phone rings from a number I don't recognize. I just knew it was Peterson. "Is this Ethan?" the voice asked sharply. The moment I answered, I heard an impatient, clipped voice. "Is this Ethan, last name?" "Yes." "Who's calling?" I said, speaking. "And you are?" "This is Mr. Peterson. I represent Olivia. She's having some difficulties." "This is Mr. Peterson, representing Olivia," he said. "My client is experiencing some difficulties at the moment." I told him to go on. I kept my voice even. "All right, go ahead." He said her cards were being declined and she'd been cut off from funds. Her credit cards aren't working, and she no longer has access to funds, he explained. I told him that after her text, I'd stopped all informal support, and any future arrangements would be handled through lawyers. I reminded him, she's the one who insisted all communication go through legal channels. I've simply followed that rule. Any future financial arrangements will need to be made formally, between our attorneys. He said she needed money now for essentials. I asked where she was, he wouldn't say. He tried to push urgency, saying she needed money right now for basic living expenses. I asked where she was staying. He brushed it off as not relevant. He accused me of acting in bad faith. Then he switched gears, claiming I was behaving in bad faith by cutting her off without notice. I told him she was the one who killed the status quo when she ended our marriage by text and cut off direct communication. I explained calmly, she ended the status quo when she ended our marriage over text and told me not to speak to her directly. I'm simply respecting her choice. He said she'd be seeking emergency financial relief. I told him to direct everything to Ms. Cole. He huffed something about filing for emergency relief. I told him that was fine, send everything to my attorney, Ms. Cole, and she'd respond accordingly. We ended the call. My heart was pounding, but I felt strangely validated. When I hung up, my pulse was racing, but deep down, I felt justified. She wanted a cold, legal separation? She was getting exactly that. Update 1 week later. It's been a week since Olivia's text dropped the bomb on my life, and things have already started heating up. 7 full days have passed since that gut punch of a text came through, and as expected, the divorce firestorm is officially in motion. First off, I just want to thank everyone who's been commenting and sending me DMs. It's been reassuring to hear that I'm not losing my mind here. I've got to say, all the comments and private messages I've gotten have been a lifesaver. Knowing that strangers out there think I'm handling this reasonably has kept me from second-guessing myself. MS. Cole got back to me the same day Mr. Peterson called, and she confirmed that my actions made perfect sense given Olivia's message. The very same day Peterson rang me up, Ms. Cole reached out. She'd reviewed the situation and said, point blank, that what I did, cutting off the informal support, was completely reasonable after the way Olivia laid things out. Her advice was simple: document everything. She gave me one big instruction: write everything down. Every call, every message, every little interaction. Paper trails win cases. The first official move from Mr. Peterson came on Monday, a formal request for emergency temporary spousal support and exclusive use of the marital home. By Monday morning, Peterson had already filed his first demand: emergency spousal support for Olivia, plus exclusive use of the house we both owned. The kicker? She'd already left the house. That was almost comical, considering she wasn't even living there anymore. She'd walked out the same day she sent that text. The amount she asked for was insane, basically enough to cover her old lifestyle, plus rent for a new place, plus legal fees. And the number Peterson put in that request? Outrageous. It wasn't just help me get by money, it was pay for my past lifestyle, my new housing, and my lawyer's bill all rolled into one. MS. Cole immediately countered with a much lower figure, based strictly on her actual needs, not her wish list. Cole shot back with a counteroffer that only accounted for basic living expenses, nothing more. We weren't here to bankroll her spa days and brunches. She also pointed out to Peterson that Olivia left the home voluntarily, and that my actions were a direct result of her lawyer's only rule. Cole spelled it out: Olivia had chosen to walk away from the house, and the financial cutoffs were a natural consequence of the boundaries Olivia herself had set. That's when the personal attacks started. And right after that, the gloves came off, personal jabs started flying. On Wednesday night, Olivia's best friend, Haley, called me out of the blue. Wednesday evening, my phone lit up with Haley's name, the best friend who'd always had a talent for stirring the pot. I answered, thinking maybe she had some useful information. Big mistake. Foolishly, I picked up, thinking she might actually know something helpful about Olivia's situation. Yeah, no. Ethan, what the actual hell is wrong with you? She snapped. No hello, no small talk. She skipped the greetings entirely and just came in hot. Ethan, what the hell is your problem? Haley? I said tiredly. I sighed. Haley, already bracing myself. Don't you Haley me. Olivia's on my couch because you cut her off. She can't even buy groceries. You're making her homeless. She was practically yelling into the phone. Don't you Haley me. She's sleeping on my couch right now because you've completely cut her off. She can't buy food. You're making her homeless. I explained again that Olivia demanded divorce via text and said all communication had to go through lawyers. I calmly repeated what I'd been saying to everyone. Haley, she told me she wanted a divorce and that all communication had to be through lawyers. I'm respecting that. Haley called that bullsh*t and reminded me that Olivia barely works. She shot back, that's bull, and you know she barely has any income. How's she supposed to survive? I pointed out that she had hired a lawyer before even speaking to me about divorce. I reminded her, she hired Peterson before she even talked to me. This is the process she wanted. Haley accused me of being cruel and vindictive after 15 years of marriage. Haley went on, you're being cruel. Vindictive. After everything you two went through together for 15 years. I told her if Olivia had wanted an amicable discussion, she shouldn't have nuked the marriage over text. I said flatly, if she wanted to talk things through like adults, she shouldn't have detonated our marriage in a text message. Haley warned that Olivia would take me for everything. Haley's parting shot? She's gonna take you for everything you've got. I told her she was welcome to try, but everything would go through legal channels. Then I hung up. I replied, she can try. But it'll all be handled in court. I'm not discussing this further. Then I ended the call. The narrative Olivia was building painted her as the victim. It was becoming clear that Olivia was spinning this to make herself look like the helpless, blindsided one. The next day, I got a bank alert. Someone tried to withdraw from an old joint account we'd completely forgotten about. Then, like clockwork, the very next day I got an alert from my bank. Someone was trying to pull money from a dusty old joint account we hadn't touched in years. It had only about $500 in it, but the sudden activity flagged it. There wasn't much in there, maybe $500, but the unusual activity tripped a security alert. I went to the bank, explained we were divorcing, and froze the account. I headed straight to the bank, told them about the pending divorce, and had them freeze the account until the lawyers sorted things out. Ms. Cole said this actually helped us. It proved Olivia was trying to bypass her own lawyer's only rule. Cole thought it was perfect ammunition. It showed Olivia wasn't just sitting back waiting on legal proceedings. She was actively trying to work around the rules she set. Now, we're waiting for the court date for her emergency support request. At this point, it's just a waiting game for the hearing on her emergency support motion. Olivia is still crashing at Haley's place, and I think Peterson is starting to realize his client expected a blank check. She's still camped out at Haley's, and I have a hunch Peterson is figuring out that Olivia thought this would be a free ride. I'm no longer shocked, just determined. The initial shock has worn off. Now it's just steady, grim determination to see this through. Update 2, 3 weeks later. It's been 3 weeks since this whole thing started, and to surprise, it's gotten messy. 3 weeks in, and what do you know? Things have somehow gotten even uglier. We had the emergency support hearing last week, and Olivia showed up looking stressed, avoiding eye contact. The emergency spousal support hearing finally happened last week. Olivia walked in looking worn down, eyes darting everywhere but at me. Peterson tried to paint her as completely destitute, claiming I had maliciously cut her off. Peterson went full courtroom drama mode, insisting she was penniless and that I had cruelly pulled the rug out from under her. MS. Cole calmly presented Olivia's own text, the one where she said all communication must be through lawyers. Cole, cool as ice, slid the original text into evidence. The one where Olivia herself demanded we only talk through attorneys. She also brought bank statements proving I cancelled her supplementary cards and monthly allowance only after that text. Then Cole walked the judge through the timeline. Cards cancelled and transfers stopped after Olivia set the lawyer's only rule. She even showed proof I was still paying the mortgage, utilities, lease, and insurance. Cole made sure the judge saw I was still covering all the major bills: mortgage, lights, water, the car lease, insurance. And then there was the attempted withdrawal from that dormant joint account. And of course, she brought up the cherry on top, the mystery attempt to empty that forgotten joint account. Olivia's part-time income also came up. She wasn't broke, just missing her discretionary spending money. Cole pointed out Olivia wasn't starving, her part-time design work was still bringing in cash. What she didn't have anymore was extra fun money. The judge wasn't buying Peterson's theatrics. He asked Olivia why she hadn't talked to me first. You could tell the judge wasn't impressed. He even asked Olivia point-blank why she didn't try talking to me before going nuclear. She mumbled something about being intimidated. I'm not exactly an intimidating guy. She muttered I was intimidated like it explained everything. For the record, I'm not exactly the kind of guy who makes people shake in their shoes. The judge seemed skeptical and sided closer to our proposed support amount than hers. You could see it in his face, he wasn't convinced. In the end, the temporary support figure was a lot closer to our number than the fantasy figure Peterson had thrown out. It covered the basics and some legal fees but didn't fund her old lifestyle. She'd get enough for rent, food, and a contribution to her attorney's costs, but no budget for spa trips and boutique shopping. The judge even said her text and the account incident contributed to her current situation. The judge made it clear her own choices, including that lawyers-only text and the joint account stunt, had helped create her predicament. For a moment, I thought we'd dodged a bullet. Then the games really began. I left the courthouse thinking we'd just cleared the biggest hurdle. That feeling didn't last long. The first dirty trick? A call from my HR department. Out of nowhere, HR calls me into the office. An anonymous complaint accused me of using company resources for personal legal matters. Someone, I wonder who, had anonymously reported that I was using work equipment in time to handle divorce business. It also claimed I'd been acting erratically and might be unstable. The complaint even threw in that I'd been erratic lately, hinting I might not be mentally stable. Luckily, my boss knows me well enough to recognize it was garbage. Fortunately, my boss knows my work ethic and personality, so the whole thing rang false from the start. IT checked the logs, nothing inappropriate was found. They pulled my computer activity records and confirmed I hadn't touched work systems for anything personal. HR dismissed it after a short chat with me. After a quick, calm conversation, HR tossed the complaint straight in the trash. Cole told me to log it, it added to the pattern of bad faith tactics. When I told Cole, she said to document everything, this just helped show a pattern of harassment. The second dirty trick came in the form of a phone call from Olivia's mother. Trick number 2? Olivia's mom calling me, voice trembling with emotion. She accused me of being heartless and said the judge had been unfair. She started in with, "How could you? She's struggling. The judge was wrong not to give her more." I told her that Olivia chose this path and that financial matters had to go through the lawyers. I stayed polite but firm. Olivia made this bed, and everything financial is being handled through attorneys, per her own rules. She called me heartless, then hung up. She didn't like that answer, called me heartless, and slammed the phone down. It was obvious they thought emotional pressure would work on me. It's clear they all assumed guilt-tripping me would get me to cave. That's when I decided just reacting wasn't enough, I needed to lock things down legally. That was the turning point for me. I couldn't just play defense anymore, I needed to proactively secure my position. First, the car. Step 1, deal with the car situation. Cole sent Peterson a letter saying Olivia had 30 days to take over the lease or return it. Cole wrote up a formal letter. Olivia had 30 days to either transfer the lease into her name or give the car back. If she didn't, I'd stop making payments and cancel the insurance. If she failed to do either, I'd drop the payments and end the insurance coverage at the same time. Second, the house. Step 2, the house. We filed for exclusive use since she left and started the valuation process for a possible sale. Cole filed paperwork for me to have exclusive rights to live there, then kicked off the home valuation process in case it needed to be sold. We also pushed for full financial discovery. Step 3, demand full financial disclosure from her. I suspected she had assets tucked away. I had a gut feeling she wasn't showing all her cards. Meanwhile, I documented every single manipulative call and the HR stunt. And throughout all of this, I kept adding to my log every guilt trip phone call, every stunt, every petty maneuver. Cole said this pattern would weigh in our favor during settlement. Cole explained that a consistent pattern of bad faith actions could influence the judge's decisions, even when it came to dividing legal fees. Then Olivia broke her own lawyer's only rule by texting me directly. And just when I thought she'd at least stick to her own boundaries, she texted me. She wrote, "Ethan, you can't take the car. How will I get anywhere? Paul, stop this." It said, "Ethan, you can't just take the car away. How am I supposed to get around? Please stop this." I screenshotted it, sent it to Cole, and replied reminding her to contact Peterson. I grabbed a screenshot, forwarded it to Cole, and sent a quick reply, per your instructions stated, date, all communication goes through your lawyer. Contact Mr. Peterson. She went silent after that. And just like that, radio silence. Final update, 6 months later. It's been about 7 months since the text that started all this, and the divorce wrapped up last month. It's hard to believe, but it's been roughly 7 months since that infamous text came through and blew my life apart. The divorce papers were finalized just a few weeks ago. Looking back, those last 6 months were like legal trench warfare. The months between that text and the final decree felt like I was stuck in the middle of a slow, grinding war, except the battlefield was courtrooms, emails, and endless paperwork. Peterson stalled whenever possible, and Olivia kept rejecting reasonable settlement offers. Peterson seemed to drag his feet on everything, and Olivia, well, she refused every reasonable deal we put in front of her, like she was holding out for some jackpot that was never coming. The fight over the car turned into its own little saga. The car situation, in particular, became its own side quest in this miserable process. She couldn't qualify to take over the lease but flat out refused to return it. She wasn't financially eligible to take the lease into her name, but she also dug her heels in and refused to give it back. Peterson argued it was a necessity for her daily life. Peterson's angle was that the car was essential to her day-to-day living, so she should get to keep it. Cole countered that her temporary support already covered basic transportation costs. Cole calmly explained that the temporary support funds were more than enough for her to arrange her own basic transportation. When the 30-day deadline passed, I told the leasing company I was done paying. The 30 days came and went, no action from her, so I called the leasing company and said, "Stop billing me, I'm not paying another cent." Since she wasn't an authorized driver on my lease anymore, they repossessed it from outside Haley's place. And because she was no longer authorized under my lease, the company sent a tow truck and repossessed the car right from where she'd parked it, Haley's driveway. Cue frantic calls from Haley and Olivia's mom. I ignored them and sent everything to Cole. Within hours, my phone was blowing up, Haley ranting, her mom crying, but I didn't engage. forwarded all messages to Cole, blocked the numbers. Olivia was furious, but her own inaction had boxed her in legally. From what I heard later, Olivia was livid, but the truth was, her refusal to act had put her in a corner she couldn't get out of. Then came the house. Once the car drama was over, we moved straight into the house battle. We got an exclusive use order, sold it quickly, and put the equity in escrow while we fought over division. Cole secured an order granting me exclusive rights to the home. We sold it not long after, and the profit went into an escrow account until the division was decided. Olivia tried to argue she deserved more due to economic disadvantage. She claimed she'd been left in a worse financial position because of me, so she should get a bigger share of the proceeds. That's when financial discovery really paid off. This was the moment where the financial digging we'd pushed for started to show results. Turns out she had her own savings account with money from her parents, plus some inherited stocks. We discovered she'd been quietly holding a separate savings account padded with years of parental contributions, along with a small portfolio of inherited stocks. Peterson tried to say it was all separate property. Naturally, Peterson's defense was that these were separate, untouchable assets. But Cole showed proof the funds had been commingled with marital money, making them fair game. Cole came in with records proving she'd mixed those funds with marital assets, meaning they could be split under the divorce. The anonymous HR complaint never linked directly to her, but the judge noted the timing in the final proceedings. We never got hard evidence that she was behind the HR stunt, but the judge still mentioned that the coincidental timing didn't help her case. We avoided a trial by settling right before it started. The judge made it clear he was tired of Olivia's games. In the end, we settled just before going to trial, partly because the judge basically told us in pre-trial talks that he was done with the back-and-forth nonsense. She realized dragging it out could leave her worse off, maybe even paying some of my legal fees. Olivia finally seemed to understand that if she kept pushing, she might end up with less than what was on the table and risk having to cover part of my attorney's bill. The settlement split the house equity nearly 50-50, but I got a slight edge due to her hidden assets. The final agreement gave me a small advantage in the house equity split, thanks to the hidden savings and stock situation. The stocks were divided as marital property, but she kept her small personal savings. The stocks got split down the middle. She walked away with her own little savings account intact. Spousal support was set for 2 years, rehabilitative only, and way less than she wanted. Alimony was limited to 2 years, just enough to help her transition into supporting herself, not enough to keep her in her old lifestyle. It came with the condition that she actively worked towards self-sufficiency. Part of the deal was that she had to show she was genuinely trying to earn her own way during that time. We each paid our own legal fees. No fee reimbursements, each of us had to cover our own attorney bills. Now Olivia's living in a small apartment, working more hours, and still complaining about money. Last I heard, she's in a modest apartment, picking up more work, and still griping about her financial situation to anyone who'll listen. Haley has distanced herself, and I think even her parents are quietly helping her out. Haley isn't as buddy-buddy with her anymore, probably tired of playing host, and I'm willing to bet her parents are still slipping her cash behind the scenes. As for remorse? Not a hint. Regret or an apology? Yeah, that never happened. She still acts like I should have kept funding her life after she detonated our marriage. She honestly seems baffled that I didn't just keep paying for everything after she decided to end things the way she did. The entitlement is wild. The level of entitlement here could power a small city. As for me, it was a brutal 7 months, financially and emotionally, but I came out okay. I'm not going to lie, those months took a toll on my wallet and my mental health, but I survived. I kept my job, my integrity, and got a fair share of the assets. I walked away with steady employment, my self-respect, and a settlement I consider fair. I learned I can handle a crisis strategically. I also learned that I can stay level-headed and methodical even when the situation feels like it's falling apart. Now I'm hitting the gym, reconnecting with friends she didn't like, and enjoying my quiet house. These days I'm back in the gym, hanging out with people she never approved of, and appreciating the peace of a home without constant tension. No Hollywood revenge, just steady, logical resistance to her bad choices. There was no grand, movie-style revenge. Just the slow, consistent grind of holding my ground and letting the consequences of her own actions play out. She wanted it cold and legal, and that's exactly what she got. In the end, she asked for cold, lawyer-only dealings, and she got them, down to the last detail. That's satisfaction enough for me. And honestly, that's all the closure I need.